Yo, what's going on guys, it's G-Miners here. Recently, me and some of the guys in my clan did some damage testing on Riven to see what some of the best DPS options are going to be heading into Witch Queen. Every legendary we tested had boss spec on, and we always used double reserves to guarantee we weren't running out of ammo. We also always sat in Well of Radiance with Lunafaction boots for quicker reloads. Every team should be running a Luna Well on day 1 for DPS unless a mechanic doesn't support it, so that shouldn't affect these DPS values by much. Particle Deconstruction and any other debuffs were also not used, and you'll see that we used Pack of the Wolf when testing legendary rockets too. You can see every single weapon and combo that we tested in this table that I put together. Everything is also sorted in order of the total damage that was dealt during the DPS window, so you can see the best options on top. The reason we chose Riven was so that we could get somewhat consistent damage phases. Each damage phase was around 14 seconds long, so this is also a good medium in terms of the length of the damage phase. Short damage phases are typically around 5 to 10 seconds. Long damage phases are typically 15 to 20 plus. So the reason this duration is good is it isn't going to favorite burst DPS or sustained DPS. It's pretty neutral. Just running through the list we have in order, it's pretty clear to see that even without particle deconstruction, legendary linear fusion rifles are still the best DPS option. The difference between a god roll threaded and a god roll reeds is also not a huge difference, so as long as you have either of these, you should be good to go, but obviously reeds will be the better option. Sleeper is right behind these two, so in my opinion, there is really no reason to run Sleeper unless you can reliably hit ricochets. Personally, I've never seen someone reliably hit these, or a boss even exist that is easily hit by the ricochets, so I doubt this will end up being better. Skipping ahead a bit, of all the rockets we tested as just solo DPS options, nothing but the rocket, the best option seemed to be the Hothead with Clown Cartridge and Field Prep at nearly 400k damage. I would assume that rockets have a huge DPS drop-off when reloading, so having to reload less often and reloading quicker seems to drastically affect the DPS. After that, Field Prep and Explosive Light were slightly lower at 330,000 damage, and trailing that was Hezin's with just Lasting Impression at 286,000 damage. I know the rockets tested have different frames, which does play an effect, but there isn't really anything you can do about this. In terms of the highest burst DPS, Overflow and Lasting Impression will probably be the best bet, but we didn't test this because proccing Overflow isn't something you can consistently do during a prolonged damage phase. The takeaway from this for rockets is that decreasing the reload time as much as possible will probably give you the highest increase in DPS, which is not really a surprise. Also, keep in mind that each of these rocket tests used close to, if not all, of their ammo. So this is decent DPS, but it is also the total damage output you will get for full reserves. Before I continue with the rest of the video, if you find it useful, don't forget to drop a like and sub down below. Subbing is completely free, guys. It helps me out a ton, and you can always change your mind later. When looking at Whisper of the Worm, this had great sustained DPS, using only about 60% of its ammo to hit 368,000 damage. But looking back at reeds, because of triple tap, I only used 10 of my 24 total shots and did 200,000 more damage. So in terms of sustained DPS, reeds still wins, and it has better DPS, so if things remain the same, there is really no real reason to ever use Whisper. Now with that said, if the artifact does have a rocket mod, which is similar to particle deconstruction, Izanagi's plus an autoloading rocket could be the king of sustained DPS. When running this combo, I hit for around 340,000 total damage, of which Izanagi's hit for close to 200k. I tested Izzy's by itself, which is where I got this number. After we wiped, I still had around half my ammo left. This was 1 honed edge shot, 9 in reserves, and 5 total rockets left. This means that the rocket would have hit for around 140k in total, so with something like a 40% buff, this would be 196k. This would sum to around 400,000 damage, which would still be lower than the linears in terms of sustained damage and DPS, but with some weapon changes in Witch Queen, these could flip. I figured I'd mention all this just so everyone is aware. Don't put this combo off, especially if we get a rocket mod next season. Even without particle deconstruction, Cartesian Coordinate also actually hit pretty hard. This summed up to around 253,000 damage. Although I wouldn't say this is going to be the DPS meta, it is great for a special for general PvE play and could be used for extra damage when you run out of ammo in something like your reeds. We also tested Anarchy and Witherhoard to see their potential as extra tick damage. both hit for around 100k. The issue with Witherhoard is I believe only one person's Witherhoard can damage a boss with its ticks, so if everyone ran a linear and this, your damage wouldn't increase by 600k, it would still only increase by 100k. Anarchy, on the other hand, should still work normally, but it seems like the best damage options are going to be in our heavy slot, not the kinetic or energy, so I doubt this will be needed for DPS as it won't be worth pairing this with any other options. I did also test the double slug shotguns. I did 2 runs. The first run, I got values for the crits that they hit Riven at, and the second, I shot her arm for just body shot damage. This made the test much more consistent, and I just adjusted the damage by a factor of 4 to represent each body shot as a crit. 4 times damage on a crit modifier is super high. I think the last I heard slugs were 3.5 damage on crit, but the 4x seemed to be much more accurate. This could be caused by different crit modifiers on different bosses. Either way, this should be decently accurate within this set of testing. These hit for around 330,000 damage in total. This is all the damage testing that I did. I want to say it included everything that should be meta options. The only thing I know I left out was the 4th Horseman, as this only works on hunters. As of now, I think my team is going to be assuming that Reeds will still be one of the best options unless something else better comes along, or until we get announcements of a big meta shift. Riven was the easiest place to damage test, so this is why we chose her for trying these options out. Anyways, that's all I have for this video, guys. Hope this helps you get an understanding for what will be most viable going into Witch Queen and potentially on day 1. Peace.